Hello friends, welcome to the last video which we would be making on scope rules. Anyway, all the theory we have already completed. This is just kind of would be like a revision for you. So, like assume that we have a function like int add with parameters int a comma int b, like that if we have. So for that a and b variables, what are the block rules? Some of them might ask that. For that a and b, for the parameters and the local variables within the function, what are the rules, scope rules that we have to follow? Note that function opens with a curly brace and ends with a curly brace. In other words, function itself is a block. Therefore, all the local variables, all the formal parameters would follow the same block scope rules only that we discussed in the previous video. The same rules only within user defined functions also same rules only would apply. Why would it change? So this is one point I just had to explicitly tell you and make it clear. The second point is that in my last video, as we discussed, the variable is accessible in all the inner blocks, but in the outer block it is not accessible. Not only that, even in the subsequent blocks also it is not accessible. But that with the example I was not able to demonstrate in the last video, as we had used nested blocks. There was no subsequent blocks as such. So even that part also I just wanted to demonstrate through a code, which is why I have just written it in the left part of the whiteboard. I will just read the code out. I will begin my code by saying hash include stdio.h, after which within the main function I have one block starting and ending with black curly braces. I hope you can see. It contains int x equal to 10. So x variable I have defined in one block. In the subsequent block, that is in the red block, I am trying to access x. How is that allowed? In the same block or in the inner blocks you can access x. You are not supposed to access x in the subsequent blocks and all. That is not allowed. Even in the outer block also not allowed. In the subsequent block, in the next blocks also it's not allowed. That is what I wanted to demonstrate. So when we try to do like this, we will get a compiler error saying x is not accessible. That is the error we get. After that I have just said return 0 and close the main function. So in our last program we saw how it was using inner blocks, that is nested blocks. In the subsequent blocks also you can't access it. That is what I just wanted to show through a program. This line, I had already said in the last video only. However, there was no programmatic example for that, which is why I have just added this code as well. In general, let us solve one exercise question based on scope rules for blocks so that we will get complete confidence in this particular topic. So that example is on the right side of the board. I hope it is visible. I hope it's visible. So this is the code. This is the code. As usual, I would begin, stdio.h I have not written again and again and again. That is a kind of understood that it is there. It would be a waste of time for me to write it again. Within the main function, I have int x is equal to 1, y is equal to 2, z is equal to 3. And then in the same block only I am trying to print x, y and z. So that's not an issue. I would be printing 1 as for x, 2 for y and 3 for z. After which I have one inner block, that is red block I am opening curly braces, in which I have declared a variable called I have declared a variable called x of integer type and I have assigned 10 to it. Not only that, a new float variable y also I am declaring and I am assigning 20 to it. Now if I try to print the values of x, y and z, I have told you local gets precedence over global variables. In other words, 10 would be printed in place of x, 20 would be printed in place of y. When there is an ambiguity, the compiler always chooses local over global variables. And for z, there is no ambiguity at all. There is only one z in the outer block, that 3 would get printed. After which inside the red block there is another green block. I am opening the green curly braces, in which I am saying int z is equal to 100. After which I am saying, I am trying to print x, y and z, I am trying to print x, y and z. I mean z, printing z is fine. I mean the most local variable is z is equal to 100. That will be the value that is printed for z. 100 would be printed in place of z. So you might be wondering what would get printed in place of x and y. Would 10 and 20 get printed or 1 and 2 get printed? I have told you whichever, for this, printf statement there is no explicit local variables of x and y. However, int x equal to 10 and float y is equal to 20 is somewhat local when compared to 1 and 2. In other words, that would get precedence.